last week, few folks may have noticed that the show went up a little bit late. It was about 3 hours and 15 minutes late. Normally, I have we record on Mondays. I get up first thing on Tuesday mornings, produce the show. Usually have it done about 9:30, and I schedule it to go out right at 11 a.m. Everything when I'm doing that on last Tuesday works just fine. So I'm expecting around 11 o'clock, usually right at 11:01, 11:02, I'll start getting notifications that it went up on Amazon, it went up on Spotify, it went up on what is the big one? Apple Music. So 5 after 11, I don't see anything. 10 after 11, okay, let me go take a look and see what's happening. I'm looking at my post and I'm like, hey, it says it's published, everything is working. But then I noticed like, oh, there's an icon that's just spinning. I wonder what's going on with that. So I am in fix the show mode. I'm not looking at what's going on in the rest of the world mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing all of this stuff to try to get the show up. And I'm talking to other folks who use the platform. Oh, it does that sometimes. It'll get stuck processing. Just delete it, repost it, it'll be right back.
Tech support.
So
why am I so late up getting?
So I'm like hitting support, and it's like, man, they usually pretty quick at getting back, but they're not getting back. So it must be something really big going on. And then finally, Tom Merritt, you guys all know, he says, you know what, I wonder if the AWS outage has anything to do with it. I'm like, that probably was it. Now, support has never said that this was the issue, so I don't want to say that this was the issue. Let me just say that from about 11 o'clock until about 3:15, there was no tech job. And those are exactly the hours of when AWS was out. So for those who aren't certain what I'm talking about, Amazon had a massive outage with their network last week, and it affected all kind of folks, big companies, small companies. I really feel bad for all of the small businesses that are trying to do their Cyber Monday week stuff in the midst of a major outage, and there's just nothing you can do while the service is down. And even though it was only down for, I guess it was down, for the better part of an afternoon, that's some of that money you just never be able to recover, because somebody wanted to buy something right then, they couldn't do it, so they moved on someplace else and they bought something similar or the same thing from somebody else, and that's revenue that you will never be able to recover.
Let's take a step back and just do a quick little very quick primer on what AWS is and how it works, why it's so important. Now I'll just start, and y'all just jump in there if I start saying stuff wrong or whatever. But AWS stands for Amazon Web Services, and it is basically a cloud service. So, when you hear that word cloud, I think people get a little confused and intimidated because it's a cloud. It seems very ethereal and ephemeral, and it doesn't actually exist or anything like that. But when you hear that term cloud, it means that the data is still stored on a physical device somewhere. So somebody's server has to be holding that data. Cloud just means that you can access the data through the internet. So you can get it from anywhere on any device. You can get it on your phone, you can get it on your computer, you can get it however you get it. You can get it from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. So that is what cloud means. But the data still actually has to live on a physical server somewhere around the world. And what Amazon has done with AWS is they've made it easy for companies to store data and do all of the work of having a website or an e-commerce site or an a whole IT department, basically, without having to have that physical stuff at their office. So if I run a website, normally I would need a server to host the website on and connectivity and all kinds of stuff. And Terrance, I know you probably could explain this a little bit more concisely than I can, but I would need a lot of stuff, physical assets and maybe some tech support and all kind of other stuff to run this website myself on my own. AWS let them take care of all of that. And all of your data is there with them. You might be, contracting with tech support from them and all kind of other services that they offer to make that process easier for you. But when that goes down, then you just left without nothing, because they control and they manage all of your assets basically for your website. So yeah.
You got it exactly right. And it's even more because, like you said, Amazon Web Services makes things easy. They have products on top of just hosting data. They've got products to make your website go faster. They got products to duplicate your website, in the case that one of their servers go down, they can move it someplace else. They get all these different services on top of that. And you would think, okay, well, me just putting a website up, or the Tech John, for example, just putting a website up, we can do that on GoDaddy or WordPress or Squarespace. There are major companies that house and store and analyze and spit out millions and millions of data points. And that's where Amazon Web Services comes in, because they say, hey, look, we can house all that. We can house all this code. So you think of all this development that goes into building a website. We're talking, again, we're not talking simple little WordPress websites. We're talking about complete websites,
millions of lines of code.
All that is uploaded and has to be stored somewhere. Amazon has kind of came out on top and said, okay, we're the best at this, we're the easiest at this, we're the cheapest at this, and it's Amazon. So we're a logistics company to start with. So why not use us for logistics for your online website / business? So again, a lot of people, to the tune of, if I'm reading this correctly, 30%.
36%.
36%.
I saw a number. Yeah, they hold 36% of the web's traffic. That's
of the
crazy.
website. Right. So
y'all, Roomba wasn't working, y'all. Little robot vacuum cleaner stopped working. So they own stuff. Was even having issues. So this was a major outage that they have. And I'm sitting here and I'm reading now. Let me explain to you what actually happened. An automated activity to scale capacity of one of the AWS services hosted in the main AWS network triggered an unexpected behavior from a large number of clients inside the internal network. That basically says some stuff broke and it really messed up stuff, because automatically that is the most non-statement statement that I have seen in a long time. It's like, y'all actually had somebody in PR work on that for days to come out with,
and that's what y'all came out and said.
That's what you came out with.
And like
crazy,
right?
Go ahead, Terrance.
No, I was gonna say, like you said in what the word that jumped out and all that word salad you just came up with, Rob, was automated. An automated thing where it's not some dude sitting at a computer clicked a button wrong, because at least you could triage that. You can say, what did you do? He was like, oh, well, I was clicking this and then this happened. They say, oh man, you XYZ when you should have ABC'd, right? Versus something being automated. That's a something that happened when nobody was around, nobody was watching. You just assume that it's going to do what it's supposed to do, and when it doesn't, then you got to do all this backtrack and then go back through all these log files, and that takes some time to come up with something.
And the problem was their diagnostics also did not work.
Because
so all of that backtracking through the logs couldn't happen because everything was down. It's like that's what I don't understand about these are billion-dollar companies, and with all the redundancy that they already have built in for things like this, like how does something like this happen to where, not that this is never supposed to happen, but how does it happen to where even the fail safes and the procedures you have in place to catch the stuff and the procedure you have to back up to catch the backup of the stuff, like everything just goes to hell. And it's just crazy, because it's like the internet can't afford that. You know what I mean? When you got
not anymore.
When you got almost 40% of the internet's traffic hosted on your platform, like, you cannot afford to have that stuff go down like that. That's crazy.
So here's a reason why people use things like AWS, because you in order for you to have a website, you can't just have, okay, well, I need to buy a computer to put my website on. You have to have a computer to put the website on. You have to have a router to plug the computer in to get it to the internet. You've got to have internet connectivity coming into your organization. You need to have firewalls. There are a plethora of things that you need to have. And organizations back in the day before they're, it's kind of funny. We're going back to everything is now on one big giant server, kind of like a mainframe. Well, we got away from that in the 80s and early 90s, and we went to this distributed, computing model. But back in the day, back in the, late 90s through probably 2009 through 2010, somewhere in that time frame, all of this stuff was internal to organizations.
Yep.
And the goal of the organization was, can we just have 99 point? You tried to get to triple nines. That was the goal. Can we get to triple nines? When you're a small organization, it's very, very difficult to do that because you literally need teams of dozens to keep everything up and running properly, all the time. And when services like Amazon came around, it's like, hey, we can give you triple nines if you just move your stuff over here and you're just paying us a monthly fee. So that allows small companies to do these really, really, grandiose web server type things. These, and it's not just web servers, databases. I mean, it's all kind of stuff, all IT. For lack of a better word, can, for the most part, run in something like AWS. Not all, much of IT can run in there. So that's why companies are moving over to it. Well, even a company like Amazon, with all the things that they do, is like, well, this is probably going to be one of those ones where we didn't think of that. Now we know it. Let's go make sure that never happens again. Right. So even a company that size, and I'm not out here stumping for Amazon, I just understand that, stuff is going to happen. This is a stuff happened much more so than I believe Facebook a few months ago. Their outage,
definitely. I think it was definitely their mistake. But I'm looking at the comments and Sarah's comment about the explanation being very vague. That was sort of a key point that I read in a few different articles, was that lack of transparency may not necessarily help prevent this from happening again, because we need, companies need to know that it was an automatic thing that got triggered, but was it automatically triggered because of, the traffic at a particular website, or was it automatically triggered because of this other company that did this thing? The fact that they're not giving the information out may be, hurting them more than helping them to prevent something like this from happening again.
My thoughts on that are, they put this statement out as vague as it is, and somebody clearly that is paid very well in a PR firm said they okayed this. Let's hope that this squashes it for 99% of our customers. Then there's that 1% who Amazon is, they're not just giving money back, but they're giving free stuff to keep you from moving over to some other platform. They get different explanations that is not going to necessarily be public. Now, this is not some inside knowledge that I have. This is Rob just thinking about how these things happen. There are big customers who are saying, nah, dog,
that's not going to fly.
That explanation doesn't work. What really happened? And then the argument comes, well, we are doing that in our own network. We moved to you so we wouldn't have to do that kind of stuff. Why aren't you doing it? Those kind of conversations are about to be had. And like I said, these things, they happen, and they try to do whatever they can do to mitigate it and just make sure that it never happens again. So you'll be hearing about postmortems from this particular outage for the foreseeable future, just because, like I said, the only time it could have been worse if this would have happened like on Black Friday, if it would have been a few days before it actually happened. And it's like, you have all these businesses that literally cannot do business right now. I really feel for them, because there's money lost that they're never going to be able to recover. We were talking in the pre-show about, we have downloads that just didn't happen. Well, we can recover that over time. People eventually are going to download the show.
Like
money.
I'm not even thinking about e-commerce. I mean, no disrespect to vendors or whatever, but aren't there like hospitals that use AWS and
there's all kinds of stuff.
Like this can be life or death for some people when you have your entire Internet of Things, heart monitoring systems connected to AWS and they all go down at the same time. This is the same thing when Tesla had that app outage and nobody could get in their car for an hour and a half. Right. Like this has implications beyond just I lost some money because nobody could buy widgets from my website. It's a more serious thing to have happen with somebody that owns almost 40% of the market. And I think we deserve a better explanation than, oh, this automated thing went down and you know, blah 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 blah. You know, y'all got to do better than that with the explanation and the commitment to doing better going forward.
And again, you can't avoid stuff like this, but what you can avoid is AWS having 1/3 of the market share when you have Google, when you got Google Cloud out here, you got Microsoft 365 or Azure, that you've got VMware, you've got all these different competitors. So if I was some of these other companies, I'd be like, yo,
they need to be jumping on this.
You see what happened to Amazon, right? Like, why don't you come over this way? Right.
I can't remember who said it, but it's like Oracle never goes down. It's like,
right.
I mean, it's
IBM,
like,
Oracle, all these other companies, you know, I would think they need to step that game up, because again, things like this are going to happen. But if 1/3 of the internet is on one service, you know, versus it being better, not equally, just better distributed, then when things happen, you know, at the very least, it doesn't take down the East Coast of the United States, right?